Okay, well, today's just going to be a glitchy day, so we're going to go ahead and get started and hope for the best and see how it works out. So let's get started. So I'll introduce myself first. Hi, my name is Marissa Soski. I'm a naturopathic doctor in Portland, Oregon, soon to also be practicing in California. And I am a recent doc. I graduated just about a year ago. And I'm really excited to be out in the world practicing the medicine that I love, using a lot of natural and holistic approaches to patient care. And I primarily work with cancer patients. And I also have a master's in nutrition, which is why I kind of ended up doing these cooking videos, is because I love food and I love healthy eating, and I love to incorporate the two and make it really tasty and accessible to people. Oftentimes people don't really know how to cook healthy, and so I wanted to kind of invite people into my kitchen so that I could show them how I do it. Not that my way is the best way or the only way, it's just the way that I do it, and maybe help give some tips to people to make it seem a little bit easier to cook healthy. So let's get started. Today we're going to be making a peanut sauce, which is then going to kind of create like a noodle bowl. I love this recipe because once you make the sauce, you can really mix and match a whole bunch of other stuff to add in. So you can do all kinds of different veggies, you can do different protein, you can do different noodles, and so it's really a fun recipe to make when you just want to pull a couple things from what you have around the house to throw a dish together. As long as you got peanut butter, you're pretty much set. So let's get started. Let's make some peanut sauce. So I say peanut sauce, but you can also do almond butter as a replacement. It does change the flavor a little bit, but it's not a big deal. And for folks who are trying to avoid peanut, either due to an allergy or an intolerance, you can use almond butter instead. Okay, so I think there still might be some glitches, but I'm just going to do my best and keep going, and we will see how this works. And if I need to, I'll repeat this one, and we'll see how it goes. If anybody out there wants to chat and say what the glitch is, and maybe that will help me, remedy the situation. So we'll see. All right. So we're going to start with some peanut butter, and we're going to start with about half a cup of peanut butter. Now, peanuts can be inflammatory to some people, not just, it's very common to have an anaphylactic reaction, but also people who are very sensitive to mold oftentimes have an issue with peanuts. They're kind of a moldy net. And so if you are dealing with a mold toxicity or very sensitive to mold, sometimes peanuts can be irritating. For some people, they're just inflammatory in general. So again, not good for everybody. But if you're in that category, you can just switch to almond butter or another nut butter. Sunflower butter also works. So if you switch to another butter, then that will work. That will work as well. All right, so now we got that in. I'm just going to check something real quick. All right, so once we have the peanut butter, the next thing is the lime juice. So I'm going to cut a lime in half. Now it's the recipe is a little bit flexible, so it calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons of lime juice versus a specific designated amount. And the reason is that some people like it a little bit more on the limey side, some people like it less limey. Same with the tamari, it kind of changes the different salt, the amount of salt in it. So if you want to start with 1 tablespoon, taste it, you can always add more. Hard to take out once you've added it. So start slow and then add in. So I'm going to start with about 1 tablespoon. So that was about half a lime for me. So we're going to start there, and then 1 tablespoon of tamari. And then 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. And as you see, that's only 4 ingredients, so that's pretty basic. Now, there's additional options that you can add in. So this is a sugar-free version. I used just organic, whole peanut butter, and so no sugar in this. Maple syrup, so that's our sweetness. And then you can also add in a bunch of other things. So today I'm going to be adding garlic, ginger, and some red pepper flakes. But one thing you could do is add in like sriracha or a chili garlic sauce or another hot sauce. And just if you're trying to avoid sugar, just know that some of those extra sauces might have sugar in them. And so be aware of that. So for the garlic and the ginger, what I'm going to do is I have what's called a microplane. And so it's a grater, but it has really tiny holes. And so it can get the pieces really small. And just be careful because you don't want to microplane your fingers. You're going to take this and take your garlic clove and microplane it into your sauce. And then again, it gets to about there, and then it's hard to do, so I'm just going to throw that in the compost. And then I'm going to garlic off. And then same with the ginger. So I'm going to take ginger and do some microplane ginger as well. Now, I wrote down a half teaspoon to a teaspoon of grated ginger, and I would definitely err on the less side of that. Sometimes ginger can be really potent and can really overpower the flavor of what you're doing. So again, start slow and then increase. I'm gonna rinse my hand real quick. And then we're going to add in some red pepper flakes. All right, and then you're just going to mix that all together. Now you can use a spoon, at least to start, to get that mixed in. When you move to adding the water, sometimes it's a little bit easier to use a whisk, depending on how the consistency is. But now you see we have just like a nice nutty paste. And then you add a couple tablespoons of water. And again, this is to desired consistency and flavor. So I'm going to start with 2, and then if anybody wants to add more, you can add more. I found that 2 usually does it pretty well for me. And if you add more lime juice or more tamari, then that can also change the consistency. And you're going to kind of mash the water in. All right, and so now I'm going to taste it to see if it needs to add any more lime or tamari. I think it needs more lime and more water. So I'm going to add that. So I'm going to do the other half of the lime. 1 more tablespoon of water. Careful not to do what I just did, which is spray stuff everywhere. But in true Marissa fashion, we were making a mess in the kitchen, so, you know. All right, mix that up really well. All right, and now we can give this a try. Much better. Much better. All right, and that's it for the sauce. So really simple, straightforward, not a lot of ingredients. And we can move on to the next part. So I'm just going to set this to the side, and we'll leave it there for now. I'm just going to clean up some of this stuff and get it out of the way for the rest of our part. All right, so now that we have made our sauce, we're going to move on to chop some veggies. So, this can be any veggies. Today I grabbed some shiitake mushrooms, some broccolini, and some pepper, and some carrot, and some red onion, and some garlic. So we're just going to start, and it doesn't have, the pieces can be as big as you want, as small as you want. This part is really up to you. So, so chop away to your heart's content. Now, I will be getting to zoodles after we chop these vegetables, which I hope y'all are excited for. I think I'm excited for zoodles. And zoodles are noodles made out of zucchini. And what I thought I would do with these videos is start picking a vegetable of the week to kind of highlight and tell you more in depth about. I know in my past videos I've kind of just been telling you some fun facts about each of the vegetables as I chop it, but I thought it might be nice to kind of dive deep into a vegetable and so this week I chose zucchini since we're going to be making some zoodles with it. So as I chop the veggies, I'll tell you about zucchini. So zucchini is called zucchini in the United States, but in other places around the world, it's often called a courgette. So, for example, I studied abroad in the UK, and in the UK they call it courgette. And then in some places they even call it baby marrow, and that's the name of it. There's some other names for it that have been created for over the years. There's a Spanish name for it as well, or like actually it's not Spanish. It's more native language. Zucchini originally comes from the Americas, a little bit south of here, so kind of into lower United States, Central and Northern South America. And then, so that's where the zucchini originated. And then in, I don't know exactly when, but then as Europeans came over to the Americas, then they took back vegetables and different plant varieties with them. The zucchini was one of the things they took, and so the modern day zucchini that we see and we use was created by the Italians. It's not how it was in its original form. This is more of a cultivated culinary variety. Now, zucchini is part of a larger family of squash, and so things that fall into the same category are summer squash, like kind of the yellow squash that you see, winter squash, such as butternut squash, acorn squash. Then there's also zucchini squash, also in the same family. And then melon is also in the same family. So watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, those melons are all in the same family with zucchini. as well as cucumber. Cucumber is also a squash in the squash family. So now just to point out, I'm peeling some garlic. This time I remembered to do it ahead of time. I will say this probably every time, but it's great to do your garlic first and kind of let it sit once you've crushed it. It helps release all of the awesome, positive, anti-inflammatory properties of garlic and antimicrobial properties. So crushing your garlic first and letting it sit for a little bit before you cook it is really great. So we're going to do that today. But yeah, so back to zucchini. So so it is, like I was saying, it's in the same family as winter squash, melon, and cucumbers. And also it is so all fruit are vegetables, but not all vegetables are fruit. And zucchini is a fruit. It is the fruiting body of the plant. And crazy enough, it is actually classified as a berry. So it is the berry of the zucchini plant. Now, typically we use mostly just just this part, but when you grow it, what is at the end of the zucchini is a beautiful flower, beautiful yellow flower, or yellow orange flower, and those flowers are also edible and are often used in kind of more gourmet cooking as squash flowers. Squash flowers are really awesome. You can deep fry them, you can stuff them and bake them. You can put them in salads. Squash flowers are very versatile and use them in a lot of things. They are somewhat hard to come by just in the fact that I don't know if anyone out there has ever grown zucchini. I grow zucchini about every other year, and oftentimes the flowers just don't maintain their beauty all that well, either from bugs or rain or dirt. So I haven't really been able to harvest that many squash flowers in order to make like a whole dish out of it. And so I'd imagine that's why it's not a super common thing and it's more of a gourmet thing. It's just because they're kind of hard to keep nice on the plants. But zucchini grows pretty easily, especially in so it's a summer squash. Around now, it'll grow throughout the summer, and in most climates it's pretty prolific. Usually I have more zucchini than I know what to do with or that I'm willing to eat, and so I give it away. In Oregon, we can't pump our own gas, and so I tipped the gas attendant with zucchini one time, which is probably one of the most Portland things that you can do, and she was stoked on that. So yes, very Portland thing. Yeah, zucchini is easy to grow and it's awesome, and it's really lovely in summer. And you can eat it so many ways. So today we're going to be turning it into zoodles, which is one of the ways. But you can also eat it raw in salads. It's really great in soups and stews. It's good in like a vegetable saute. And also you can scoop out the inside, stuff it, and then bake it. And it's really good as stuffed zucchini as well. Almost done with the And next is the broccolini. I feel like over the last few weeks I've been using broccoli, so I tried to switch it up. I do intend on getting a little bit more creative and exploratory with my vegetable selection, but I do kind of have my standard vegetables that I go to. So if you watch these videos, you'll kind of see I have my standard vegetables that I use. I kind of tend to use a variety of vegetables in one dish, but you can also make it a little bit more simple and just use like 2 or 3. I think today about 6, including the garlic. We're just going to do a coarse chop on this. And broccolini is awesome. Same kind of awesome things that are awesome benefits as broccoli, as I mentioned before. And but just kind of a different texture, not as dense as like the broccoli florets. These are a lot more loose and airy. And then pepper, always gotta have pepper. So let's talk about the health benefits of zucchini. So zucchini, like I said in my previous videos, almost all vegetables are great for the immune system because they have antioxidants, and I would say the same about zucchini. So zucchini is a great source of vitamin A. Vitamin A is really important for your immune system and also for your vision health. It's a precursor for protein in your eye that helps you see. So vitamin A is really important. It also has manganese, magnesium, potassium, vitamin C, vitamin K, folate, and other B vitamins. So zucchinis are really awesome. Now, it's really high in antioxidants. So in the antioxidants it's high in, there's kind of some crazy words. So it's a class called carotenoids. And some of the carotenoids it has are lutein, zeaxanthin, and those things are really good for vision. Beta-carotene, also really good for vision. And because of this antioxidant level, it's really good for heart health and anti-cancer properties, and really good for just all around health. It's also really good for digestion. And just one more thing about the antioxidants is that the antioxidants are actually highest in the skin. So you want to keep the skin on a zucchini in order to maximize the health benefits of it. So then zucchini is also really good for digestion. It has a lot of fiber, but is also really water kind of stored in its cell walls. It's a pretty watery vegetable. So the combination of the water and the fiber makes for really, really good quality stools. All about really good quality stools, easy bowel movements. Gut health is so important to your overall health. Like if you could fix one thing, if you fix your gut health, so many problems end up usually clearing up. It's kind of the gateway to health in many respects for a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people. So zucchini is really good to help keep that gut health really happy. It's also, as you'll see today, we're using it instead of noodles. So it's a really awesome low-carb option to replace noodles or other things and kind of reduce your refined carbohydrate intake by using a vegetable. And so that can help with a whole slew of things. One of the things when you switch to using something like zucchini as a vegetable, as like a noodle instead of a refined carbohydrate, is you help stabilize blood sugar and prevent spikes in blood sugar that refined carbohydrates cause. This can be really beneficial for somebody with type 2 diabetes or PCOS or another or chronic stress even. Chronic stress causes issues with your blood sugar regulation. So any condition that really compromises blood sugar regulation, this would help because switching to Zoodles instead of a refined carbohydrate would help because it helps kind of regulate those spikes and kind of keeps it more even throughout the day. And then I got a beautiful red onion here. So I'm really trying to eat the rainbow today. So we have some red and pepper. We have orange and carrot. Orange and carrot. We got some yellow in garlic. We have some green in our broccolini. Don't have a lot of blue, but we do have purple in our onion. And then we have some browns and whites in our mushrooms. And again, I've said this in other videos, but it's always a good point to drive home, is that eating the rainbow is so important. Each plant has, or each color kind of represents different phytonutrients, and when you have eating the rainbow, you kind of maximize the number of phytonutrients you have, and they have a lot in common. They do have a lot of overlap, but when you are able to ingest all of them, you kind of get the benefits of all of them versus just the benefits of one of them. So we're going to put some red onion here. So other areas, just finishing up with zucchini that zucchini is really great for, is weight loss, bone health, like I said, anti-cancer properties because of the antioxidants. Also really good for prostate health because of those antioxidants, and it also helps stabilize thyroid function, so that's really cool. So we have our awesome pile of veggies that we're going to saute up in just a second, but let's make some zoodles. Now, making zoodles. Close this. Let's see, you can see. Now, making zoodles does require a little bit of equipment. So this is a zoodle, or sorry, this is a spiralizer. That's what it's called. So you want to get a spiralizer, and what it has, you can see that. I don't know if that's really going to come out, but it has these teeth here. And so when the zucchini goes through it, you can also spiralize carrots. You can spiralize just about anything that's kind of long and will set in here. Apples, you can also spiralize apples. And so what that does is kind of create these noodle-like things. So they have a bunch of different spiralizers out there, varying from really cheap and flimsy to like industrial. So you can find one in the middle that fits for you. So I'm just gonna wet this so that it sticks. So mine just sets on my countertop and then kind of suctions down so that it holds it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the ends off so that it sets in my zoodler. Now, I will say this works a lot easier when you have a very straight zucchini. Earlier, I did it with like one that was like a little wonky, and you just have to be a little bit more patient with it, and kind of hold it steady a little bit. It doesn't sit quite as well. Oh, and then also sometimes it doesn't always fit. So we're going to cut this in half and do it in 2 pieces. So just stick it on to the thing. As you see, this one, you kind of have to hold it as you guide it through, at least until it's kind of in there. So I kind of messed this one up a little bit. This is just the day of technical difficulties, so is life. All right, there we go. Alright, so we got one piece. Sorry for the silence. I'm really focusing on this so that I don't mess it up. So you see, this is not the best zoodler. This is not the easiest, most user-friendly. In fact, it's not working very well at all. So get yourself a good zoodler, or a good spiralizer. Well, we're going to stop this for now because I feel like I'm wasting everybody's time messing this up. But we did get some zoodles, so that's great. So you can kind of see they're noodly. Moral of this story, get yourself a good zoodler that works a lot better than this one. So I'm going to set this in this bowl for now, and we're going to come back to this when we're ready to build our bowl. All right, so now that that's done, we're gonna saute up some vegetables real quick, and then we will also, I'm gonna do some ramen noodles just to give you guys an idea of kind of two different options for this. So let's get some water boiling. And then we are going to go on a little field trip over to the stove. All right, so now we're going to saute some vegetables. I talked a lot about sesame oil last week, so I'm going to use sesame oil again. I like sesame oil or coconut oil when I'm making more Asian style dishes. I think the flavors really go together. And then I use olive oil for just about everything else. Just heat it. And then since we're kind of just throwing all the veggies in together, you can cook it to whatever desired consistency you want. If you want it cooked a little bit more, you can cook it longer. If you want to cook less, cook less. If you want more al dente. So while that's waiting for heat, we are going to prep our protein and also just some toppings for the bowl. Now today, I'm going to use some flavored tofu. So I just bought this at the store, Hodo brand. It's organic braised tofu. It uses Chinese 5-spice and some other awesome flavors. This is just easy, so I don't have to kind of flavor and create my own tofu. But the tofu that we've done in the past, the fried tofu, that would work really well. Even just some roasted chicken breast or some. Sorry, I don't cook a lot of meat, so I'm trying to think of what the word is. But just like some very basic chicken or some shrimp or tempeh, anything like that would work really great for this recipe. You can literally throw in any protein that you have lying around. So I'm going to use this tofu today. Hot. And then you can cut it into whatever size pieces that you'd like. So I'm just going to kind of make this up as I go along. I think our oil is ready. And as you see from this video and from some of my other videos, I really love just throwing in all of the vegetables all at once and kind of cooking them together. But you can also stagger them and kind of cook them at different paces as well. Okay, so we're going to stir this up. Oh, and this actually reminds me of something I didn't mention last week. I'm not using a nonstick pan right now. I'm just using a stainless steel pan. But nonstick is very prevalent and very popular. And I was using nonstick last time. And what I wanted to mention that I forgot is to never use metal on a nonstick surface. It's really important, really, really important. So a lot of the nonstick surfaces are made with some pretty toxic materials. And they're okay if they're kind of sealed into the pan. But what happens is when you use a metal or a fork or any kind of metal utensil, it disrupts that and it breaks open kind of the seal that is on the pan, and that then ends up leaching. All of those toxic materials start leaching into your food. So really, really important to only use silicone or wood on stainless steel, or on non-stick pans, so that you don't scrape the non-stick material off into your food, and prevents it from leaching into your food at later times. All right, so we're going to get this cooking. And while that's going, we're going to keep cutting our tofu and getting that ready. So I'm just cutting the tofu into small cubes. And then for toppings today, I'm deciding to use, based on kind of just what I had around the house, was some sesame seeds and some green onions. So I'm going to go ahead and chop the green onions and get them ready as well. I think I will only need one for my bowl. Now, my video has gone out. Can anybody still see me? Or so please comment if you can still see the video. Otherwise, I will try to troubleshoot, but I can't see this. Alright, so apparently you guys can see me and I can't see you, so I'm just going to fly blind here and hope for the best. Or I can't see myself, I'm sorry. I can see your comments, but I can't see myself, so. Alright, we're going to finish chopping some green onion. Alright, so we got our green onion and we have our tofu all ready to go. I'm just going to come over here, so I'm going to grab some ramen noodles. I use organic brown rice noodles from Costco. They come in a really big bag. It's awesome, super cheap. Let's see, the water's not quite ready. Now, I really like ramen noodles. I like using them as a carbohydrate in a lot of dishes that I make just because they cook so quickly. It's not like brown rice that takes kind of 45 minutes to do unless you do it in a pressure cooker. But the ramen noodles take a lot quicker. Now, they take quicker because they are more processed. Even the organic brown rice ones are more processed. So if you're trying to stay more whole grain, stay whole. This is not necessarily the way to do it. This is definitely a processed food. But very delicious. All right, so our vegetables, I'm going to leave the vegetables on slightly on the less done side. Now, I like doing that because then when I go to reheat them later, they stay a little bit less. They're not like super cooked when you go to reheat them. So kind of on the first go around of cooking, I oftentimes leave the vegetables a little less done. But if you're just making this for a one time, or you like your vegetables very well done, you can always add more or cook them longer. And as you can see, I'm going to hold this up so that you can see how colorful it is. I hope that you can see this. You can see all the colors of the rainbow all mixed in there. So pretty. Alright. So we're going to see if we can get this water boiling. But while we're waiting for the ramen noodles to cook, we can go ahead and build our zoodle bowl. So I'm going to take the small amount of zoodles that I ended up with and add a little bit of tofu, and then add some vegetables. And then I'm gonna grab my sauce. And add a good scoop of sauce. And then I said this in the recipe, but start with less sauce. You can always add more, but it's really hard to take it away. So start with like a smaller scoop, and then over time you'll kind of develop like how much do I actually need or want. But I would say start with a smaller amount, and then you can always add more. And then I'm just gonna toss that with a spatula, or sorry, with some tongs. You can also use a spoon. And then you kind of want to just mix it around so that all of the peanut sauce gets on everything. And then so you can, if you're serving this for other people, you can make a big batch of this, and then everyone can take their own little bowl. If this were me, I would just eat out of this bowl, but I will make it pretty for everyone on the internet to see. So we're just going to dish it up. Looks like our water is boiling. Throw in the ramen. That will be ready in just a second. Alright, so now we have our zoodle bowl. I'm going to sprinkle some green onion on there. And also some sesame seeds. And there we have our peanut noodle bowl. Now we're all ready to eat. Now I'm going to continue hanging out, kind of finishing up the ramen noodles, and so you can see what that looks like. But at this point, we're pretty much ready to go, so I might take a bite because I'm hungry. Grab some chopsticks. I'm happy with how that came out. I hope you are too. I'll say this is also for anybody who's doing keto. This is a pretty keto-friendly diet just because you have a lot of, and especially if you modulate the vegetables you're using, so you use pretty low-carb vegetables, and then also if you do the zoodles and pick a lower-carb protein, so something like a fish maybe or chicken, this can be a really great keto dish with the zoodles. Well, so if anyone has any questions, it didn't seem like anyone had them throughout the time, but if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them now while we're finishing up. And also, if you have any suggestions for future meals, feel free to drop them too in the comments. I think I've gotten, so this week was kind of based on a request to do something with fewer ingredients, and so that's why I kind of chose a sauce that at its base has only 4 or 5 ingredients. And then you can mix and match all the rest of it. It doesn't really require anything. And then I also have a request for the future to do more Mediterranean style. The Mediterranean diet or Mediterranean style eating is one of the most researched diets or ways of eating in terms of positive health impacts. And so it's kind of the diet I loosely follow. It's more of like a pattern of eating. It's not so much a diet. And so that's one that I personally follow. And so I will got a request to kind of do some more Mediterranean style dishes. So that is definitely in the works. Also, just to keep you guys updated and excited for the future, we will start doing. I'm going to start doing some guest chefs as well, who can kind of bring another flair or expertise. So one of my friends does a lot of work with checking in about making sure that we're being thankful for our meal and kind of thinking about where does our food come from and kind of paying grace to the people who picked our food and the land that it was grown on and all that, and kind of bringing that whole mindfulness about where our food comes from into our food prep. And so I think that's really awesome. So I want to have her on to kind of to talk to you guys about that. So that's in the works as well. Let's see if these noodles are ready. And they are. So we're gonna strain these out. I know you can't really see me, but you can hear me. So I'm gonna take some of those noodles, throw it back in my mixing bowl, and then we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna throw in some tofu. And some vegetables. And then some peanut sauce. Mix that around. Throw it in the bowl again. Top it with some green onions and a little bit of sesame seed. And now we're ready to go with this one. So now we have 2 options. So we either have our zucchini noodles, our zoodles, or our ramen noodles. You can have it either way. All right, well, if there are no questions, that's all on my end. Thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being patient with the technical difficulties that we had today. I'll work on that in the future and see if we can't troubleshoot that. But I really appreciate you guys sticking with me, and stay tuned for more next Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.